Everybody, this is the Wednesday, September 27th meeting of the Permanent Municipal Building Committee. The first thing on the agenda is the warrant, and Steve is going to try to bring that up.
Can you see that?
Nope.
Okay, I guess I didn't share screen. Hang on a minute. Share screen.
Well, Steve's trying to bring it up. I'll read it out. The first one on the list is for Green International for work for the new senior center. It's $3,755. The second one is Rockwell Roofing for $69,682.50. The next one is LLB Architects, $69,759.48. And the next one is Brian Fours, Vertex, $7,041.75. And Steve, was that Russell Bar included in that, or
it was?
Yeah, total. Russell Bar for $3,160 for a total of $150,238.73.
Did you guys see the warrant?
No.
Well, that's not working out well.
I scrolled through it a minute ago.
Huh. Don't know why that's not working. Okay, well, I can't seem to share my screen.
We have a motion to pay the $150,238.73.
So moved.
Would it help if you want me to try to share my screen? I have the warrant up that you just emailed out.
Yeah, that'd be great. There you go. If you can rotate it, that'd be helpful.
Yep.
So Bob and I had reviewed this part of the meeting. Everything seems to be in order, and we have a motion. I seconded it. All in favor?
Brian Pasquale, yes.
Bob Rama, yes.
Bartlett, yes.
Stacy?
Stacy, yes.
Okay.
Steve, yes. Motion carries. Go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
All right, Brian, you want to take them? There we go. Next on the agenda is the minutes from 9/13. I didn't see the minutes, so Steve, did you see them?
I did not. Maybe we'll defer that to the next meeting.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the feasibility study. Steve and Stacy.
As far as I know, there aren't any updates, but maybe Steve, you know more.
The committee selected an OPM, and I think Steve, Mark, and Ryan are putting together the final information for the MSBA package, and that's all I know.
Move on.
Well, I think we're going to go to the November board, MSBA board, or MS. What is it? MS.
What?
Yeah, the November board.
Right, Brian Fours at the library, anything up on that as far as the leads?
Yeah, the only thing is open that we have with lead. I've spoken with one of the select board members about our lack of participation from the designer. Our next step of getting information is either going to be going through the town administrator or through town council. And that's where we're at right now. So with my failed attempts of doing this for probably over a month, I've kind of escalated it to getting something out of the principal from town council. So hope to have an update with you in the next meeting.
Do we owe them any money at all, Brian?
Not at this point. I take that back. There may be some lingering lead funds that I did not approve, but they haven't invoiced for months. So it's been a long time. There is a small amount of fee that's left remaining on this lead submission, but obviously, not only would I not be paying, I wouldn't be in a hurry to be paying it either.
Yeah.
Based on the
So
speed.
has anyone reached out to the principal?
Stu, I've done it
Roberts?
twice. Yeah,
Stu?
I've reached out to him twice. I've called him and left him voicemails and left a few emails as well, with no success. And so I'm using another avenue through the town to possibly get town council involved.
Oh, that's discouraging.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Very much so. Very much so.
Okay.
High school roof, Brian Pasquale?
Yeah, it continues to progress. They're finishing up the metal copings this week. That wraps up kind of the majority of the work. What they have left is the snow melt system, which will be installed starting next week. And then the only item that will linger after that is they're waiting for the final penetration boxes for the AHU piping to go down through the roof to finish those penetrations. And that the delivery date for those boxes is October 24th. So that'll kind of be the lingering work. That's the last 10% on their requisition.
Yeah. Now, are they doing work during the week or is it still weekends?
They're doing work during the week, but they're doing it after school hours.
As long as we get it wrapped up before the snow flies.
Yeah. Knock on wood, it very much should be. Like I said, they're pretty much there. They're just waiting for those roof boxes. I mean, the penetration boxes. Sorry.
They're one of the contenders for the senior center too, right?
They were on the list. I don't know, what's
Rockwell.
progressed beyond that, but they were on the initial bidder list. Yeah.
Is that Rockwell you meant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a pre-qualified subcontractor. We haven't received pricing yet, but yes, they are on that list.
Interesting. Okay.
Any more questions for Brian on that?
Nope.
Next is the senior center, Brian Fours.
Yep, we're in our procurement window right now. We've received a good amount of RFIs. I think that they're standard RFIs that we receive on most projects. We did receive one last week. We did have our bids due on the 28th, but due to this RFI, it was from the elevator contractor. So to give a little bit of history or to refresh your memory on this, we did not receive any statements of qualification for filed sub-bid elevators. So the process you do for that for Mass General Law is to put it out to bid again. We did not receive any qualifications on that turnaround. So the next step is to put the bids out, but the elevators are now not considered a filed sub-bid. And so we received an RFI from Delta Beckwith Company. Their question pertained to the size of the shaft and the elevator machine room. In conversation with the designer and the contractor, there are going to be some slight modifications on the location of the elevator machine room on the first floor and its orientation with a storage closet there. Because of that changes and the how close it was to our bids being due, we did extend it into next week. just so that it gave any other contractors that are bidding on this a fair, competitive, level playing field in order to get their pricing correct. It doesn't affect our schedule at this point. Commodore will still be ready for their GMP shortly thereafter once the filed sub bids come in. So this time next week, we will have a majority of our pricing from the filed sub bids, which would be the low bids. I don't expect any need to throw out any low bidders unless, like we just spoke about, if there is an instance when anyone has any recent experience with a contractor that we want to take a hard look at on their low bid. But we'll be assembling the total project budget after that, along with Commodore's guaranteed maximum price.
So, Brian, what do you attribute the lack of interest in the elevator contract to?
It's been quite common in the past few years that we've seen when it comes to pre-qualification. It's almost as if they all kind of decided that they're not going to go out for pre-qualification, knowing that they'll be able to submit a bid on it later on, not under the filed sub bid umbrella. But we've up at the street in Pepperell, even though that job didn't go, we did not receive any elevator interest. The next step after that would be to give the scope to the construction manager, and ultimately Commodore would own the elevator scope, and they would have to go out and procure something that adhered to the specifications.
So do you think it's just that it's a one-stop elevator? Would we get bids if it were like a 5 or 6 stop elevator?
It's a good question. It may not be as attractive because of the size of this and the tonnage. But what we have is a full ADA sized elevator. I think it was estimated at roughly around $150,000. It's on the smaller side of the other jobs that we've done with multiple stops.
Right.
But yeah, maybe that is a good point.
Yeah, 75,000 a stop is about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So we'll have a lot more information for you once we receive that. My plan is to have a meeting where I'd like some maybe a representative from the Pmbc before our next meeting, the town administrator, just to kind of have a check-in with everybody from the town, as an understanding about our schedule, logistics, where our budget sits. If there's any decisions that need to be made regarding any alternates that we put on the drawings before we start to analyze that GMP and recommend a notice.
We're still looking at groundbreaking towards the end of the year, or?
We'll be ready to groundbreak towards the end of the year. We're going to be taking ownership of the residence in November. And then I'm waiting on Commodore to really flesh out that construction schedule about when the shovel would be going in the ground. Like we'd said, I think I'd mentioned at last meeting that Commodore might have a window of kind of a procurement window where they're putting in submittals and ordering long lead time items, but they're not burning money with general conditions, putting guys out on site if they don't need it. So we're trying to do it as with most economy as possible.
Brian, if they looked hard at the amount of space that's going to be taken up down there once we start building. I was down there the other day and at the library, and I mean, that parking lot was full.
Yeah. So as part of their logistics plan, they're not going to be encroaching on any parking for the majority of construction. The time that they will need to encroach into the library's parking is when they tie into the infiltration sub-basins that are underneath the parking lot, as well as the sewer tie-in, which is right in between the two buildings. Commodore knows that parking is at a high premium there, and that we're going to have to phase that and work with the town in order to make sure it fits with their schedule as well. The project ultimately is a net positive of 19 parking spaces along the adjacent part of the senior center. But they know that the same rules apply as it did to the library. There'll be no contractor parking, and that the construction fence needs to be as tight as possible, just so that people could still utilize all the parking that they have currently.
Storage and material, can it be stored at the lot next door?
At the residence?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's going to be part of the town's property, and it will be underneath the builder's risk insurance that we have there. So ultimately, my answer to that will be yes, as long as it is brought back up to the same condition as it was when we found it.
yeah. I just don't want to run into something, you know, like the couple that attacked us coming out of the meeting there. There was, you know, we don't want to run into something like that, that
Sure.
they're all over us because they can't move around down there.
Yeah, I foresee part of my job is also differentiate, making sure that we are as clean and kept in house as possible, because, you know, unfortunately, we don't have anything to do with the sewer project, and we don't want to. We want to make the two projects distinct. So.
Yep.
So thank
Any
you.
other questions for Brian, or Brian, you got anything else?
No, I do know that one of the alternates in the project is the solar system. We did pay for the design and the analysis of it and it going on the roof. Our initial estimates determined that it is probably going to be outside of our budget, but it will be something that we will be looking at. That will be one of the first things that we look at once the prices come in, on whether or not it's something that the town can afford. And I'm sure that's going to be a decision that needs to be made. I know that the selectmen have been speaking with the senator about possibilities for more earmarks and potential green grants. I know that's all going to play into where it is. The building will be solar ready. We have a design for it. It's just a matter of whether or not we can afford it right now.
What do you anticipate a cost for the solar?
About $250,000.
How
Not
many
in the budget.
kVA is that?
What's that?
How many kVA?
Believe that
I mean, is
the
it
library was 35, and this one was going to be larger, up in the if I believe it was around 50.
okay?
Anybody else?
Thank you.
No.
Member input? Bartlett?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Brian?
I'm all set. Thank you, Bob.
Steve?
I'm good.
Stacy?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
And I'm all set too. Next meeting, October 11th via Zoom. Thank you all.
Motion to adjourn.
So motion to adjourn.
Yep.
So moved.
You always call me on that one.
All right.
Second.
Okay, Bartlett,
Yes.
Brian,
Brian, yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
and Bob Rumley, yes.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you all.
Have a good evening.